The US map isn't tearing, not yet. But make no mistake, it's bending. In Texas, lawmakers speak of sovereignty like it's a practical plan. In California, millions are warming to the idea of leaving. In Alaska, secession isn't fringe talk. It's front-page news. Across the country, whispers are growing louder. They're not asking what's next for America. They're asking, do we still belong here? And in those quiet moments, many eyes are drifting north. Toward Canada is a national unraveling closer than we think. These are the 10 US states where the cracks are spreading fast. And for some, the exits aren't just being considered, they're already in motion. Number 10, California. The Golden State looking north. With an economy rivaling major nations, California has always done things its own way, but now it's flirting with something bigger, going solo. A January 2025 poll revealed over 60% of Californians believe the state would be better off outside the US. That's not a fringe view. That's millions of people. Why? Because while the rest of the country falters, California sees itself as a tech juggernaut, a climate leader, a cultural icon. But the new twist, those talks of independence are starting to align with conversations about Canada, shared environmental goals, similar politics, and a globalist mindset. Legally, secession is nearly impossible. But culturally, the sentiment is growing. In a fractured, post-pandemic America, even the impossible can't be ruled out. Number 9. Alaska Oya, Ice and Independence. Alaska is physically closer to Moscow than Miami, and ideologically, it often feels even farther from D.C. This resource-rich, rugged state has long harbored independence sentiments. The 2024 survey found over 1/3 of Alaskans would support secession. Now, not later. Why? They feel ignored by Washington. Federal rules dictate land use, while spending rarely makes it this far north. And as frustrations grow, some are looking north to Canada. Same climate, strong indigenous ties, resource-based economies. Would D.C. ever let them go? No. Would Canada say yes? Also unlikely. But the undercurrent is real and rising. Number 8, Texas. The Republic reawakens. Texas was once its own nation. That pride still runs deep. Today, lawmakers in Austin are once again floating the words. Polls suggest up to 1 in 3 Texans are open to leaving the U.S. This isn't just rhetoric. With a GDP of over $2 trillion, Texas would be among the world's top 10 economies as an independent nation. Its strengths: energy, agriculture, tech, but it's not just about going it alone. Some Texan thinkers are eyeing partnerships beyond federal reach, including north toward Canada's energy innovation and trade networks. Joining Canada, highly unlikely, but building economic ties and bypassing federal bureaucracy. That conversation is already happening, quietly but consistently. Number 7, Washington. The Cascadia dream. In Washington, the border with Canada isn't just geographical, it's ideological. The Cascadia movement envisions a bioregion that includes British Columbia, Oregon, and Washington united not by nation, but by shared values. Climate policy, healthcare, progressivism. From Seattle to Vancouver, tech and trade already blur the lines. And with 1 in 4 residents now open to the idea of leaving the US for something more in sync, this fantasy is becoming strategy. Is it legal? Not really. But the real shift isn't in courts. It's in culture. Cascadia isn't about breaking away with bombs. It's about building something better together. Number 6, Oregon. Counties in revolt in eastern Oregon. The state feels foreign. Rural voters believe their values are buried under Portland's progressive politics. Enter the Greater Idaho movement, a campaign to move conservative counties out of Oregon and into Idaho. Not satire. Real votes, passed by real majorities in over a dozen counties. In 2024, Idaho's legislature even signaled interest. While redrawing state lines remains legally complex, the message is clear. People are choosing where they belong, and it may not be where they currently mapped. And a few in this movement are even looking north to Canada, where agricultural trade, climate policy, and rural priorities sometimes feel more aligned than anything coming from Salem or Washington, D.C. #5 Colorado. The rural rebellion. Colorado is a tale of 2 states. Urban centers like Denver are booming with tech and progressive policy. But out in the plains and foothills, resentment runs deep. Since 2013, several rural counties have pushed to break away. Some proposing to form a new state, others wanting to join Wyoming. Their complaint: being ruled by urban elites with no grasp of rural life. In 2025, tensions reignited over new oil restrictions, land use laws, and gun control measures. And now, a new thought is emerging. If you can't break away, maybe you align differently. Rural Coloradans are quietly watching how Canada manages rural development, broadband, and agriculture. Not to join, but to imitate. #4 Illinois. Leaving Chicago behind, downstate Illinois has had enough. In county after county, resolutions are passing to separate from the urban power of Chicago. This is the new Illinois movement, a grassroots push to restore rural representation by redrawing the map. Some want to join Indiana. Others want to form a new state entirely. And their frustration isn't just with policies. It's with power. They say their taxes feed a city that doesn't serve them, and their industries are stifled by regulations meant for skyscrapers, not farmlands. In 2024, multiple counties formally petitioned the state legislature for separation. The state, silent. But silence is breeding anger, and anger is turning into action. #3 Michigan. The joke that isn't funny anymore, it started as a meme. Make Michigan Canadian, but behind the joke is a serious truth. A University of Michigan survey in 2024 showed that 23% of young adults would support joining Canada. Not as satire, but for access to affordable health care, better governance, and climate policy. And they're not just talking. Thousands have already moved north. Retirees, remote workers, families. Ontario is seeing a surge in Michigan-born residents. Detroit and Windsor have always been neighbors. But now, the mental border's fading, too. For many Michiganders, the Canadian dream is quietly replacing the American one. #2 Hawaii. Sovereignty rising. Hawaii is different. It's not just a state. It was a kingdom. And in 1893, that kingdom was overthrown in a US-backed coup. Today, the Hawaiian sovereignty movement is stronger than ever. Some want full independence. Others seek recognition as a sovereign nation within a nation, like Native American tribes. Why now? Because the cost of living is pushing Native Hawaiians off their ancestral lands, and decades of military expansion and mass tourism have left deep scars. Canada, in this context, is viewed not as a destination, but as a model, a country making imperfect but visible efforts toward indigenous reconciliation. Hawaii probably won't leave the US, but it's demanding to be seen, heard, and respected. And it's no longer asking. #1 Florida. Exit by airplane. Florida isn't talking about it's already acting, one plane ticket at a time. While fringe groups fantasize about breaking away, thousands of everyday Floridians are doing something quieter and more permanent. They're leaving Canada. In 2024, over 8,000 Floridians relocated there, citing skyrocketing insurance premiums, climate risks, and political polarization. Ontario, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, these aren't just vacation spots anymore. They're escape routes. This isn't a revolution, it's a retreat. And while Florida may remain part of the US on paper, for thousands, the emotional departure is already complete. Conclusion: the American map may look intact, but underneath the surface, something is shifting, not with tanks and banners, but with quiet ballots, whispered conversations, and one-way plane tickets. Whether it's a rural county wanting out, a state dreaming bigger, or individuals seeking sanity across the border, one truth is clear. Unity is no longer assumed, and in that growing space between identity and allegiance, the future of the United States may be quietly If this video opened your eyes, subscribe for more deep dives into the real movements shaping our world. Share this with someone who still thinks the map is permanent, because in 2025, even borders can bend.